Hello and welcome to Joyride with your hosts, the metaphysical moms, Tiffany and Carrie. Joyride takes you on a spin through all things spiritual and soulful, including holistic healing, energy work, and personal development. Now, here are your hosts, Tiffany and Carrie.
Oh, good morning, everyone.
Hello.
I'm your host, Carrie.
Welcome to Joyride. I'm Tiffany.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I want to start this by saying I had a pop-in this morning, Mr. Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash.
They came in together.
They did. They did. I was watching the old. Apparently, he sang not only, or they sang at Folsom, and they sang at what is it, San Quentin? Mm-hmm. And so I was watching these, and all of a sudden, the way they come in is just overwhelming. I start to cry, but it's like this happy over-tear thing that happens.
Okay, they're not walking through her front door. They are entering her
My space.
spiritual space. She sees and senses spirit, and
Yes.
has these spiritual friends that pop in from time to time to say hello. So what did they have to say?
do. And that's where I kind of fall apart. But it's more
But you
of a
felt them.
feeling.
They came to
yeah,
visit.
they just came to say hi, and she is the sweetest feeling soul. She just has this.
June Carter Cash.
Mm-hmm. And he is this. I was thinking they are truly twin flames. I mean, they had to do their work and then pop back in. And anyway, so I just wanted to start.
Well, you
with
said
that-
Elvis popped in too, right?
Yeah, Elvis popped in. It was.
That's her.
He
that's
always
her
pops
crush.
in. I mean, he's never far away, and it's this feeling of linking up. It's like you can feel them, and then once you feel them, it's fairly easy to kind of talk back and forth.
I love it.
So anyway, well, we got a show for you today, talking about riding high.
Riding high, and we have a new friend here in the studio today, a fellow metaphysical mama. Hello, Miss Wendy Hutchison. How are you?
Hello, I'm great.
I
I'm
don't-
so happy to be here.
I don't think you're new. I think we go way back.
Well, I'm
Just
sure
new
we
for
do.
this
Just
lifetime.
new as in, oh, we finally,
Exactly.
here we are again. We
Yeah.
finally
We
met up.
right on time.
Exactly.
So, Wendy, you were introduced to me by our friend Claire, who you've been in a spiritual development circle with for a while. So, shout out to Claire.
Yes.
And she's like, you guys just have to meet. And we met and just hit it off.
Yeah.
And all your life story, all the trauma and drama and enlightenment and ascension that you've been through, your own personal journey, and that you have now turned that into becoming your life's work as a life coach and an energy healer. And you started
Yes.
telling me about the practice that you have recently getting trained in, and it's amazing. It's called Marconics energy healing. So we want to dive into all of that. Plus, she brings us chocolate.
She did. She brought us.
She comes in
bars
with
and
like 4
bars.
and 5 chocolate bars. So we have to get off on the right foot and start the day right.
Right.
Like,
Well, I don't know.
Amen.
I was at her house, and I think I horked down at least 2 bars, so big bars.
It's unlimited chocolate at my house.
so
know.
super
It's a happy
sweet
place.
on so many levels. So thank you. And you're also a writer, and you write for the Missing Piece magazine, an interactive digital self-discovery magazine.
Yes.
That's really cool.
It's a fantastic magazine. Every writer is a life coach, so it's a great resource for all kinds of information on really self-help and growth and taking your life to the next level.
So can we all
great.
read it, or is it just really
It's-
written to life?
Well, no, it's
Coaches.
the writers are all life coaches,
But they're reading
it's
experience for
the-
everybody.
For everybody.
Yes, it's for everyone, and it's
Ooh.
wonderful. So get online, check it out. You can subscribe or just buy one issue if you want, but
Oh, that's a great idea.
it's fantastic.
And that pink you are wearing, you're wearing this beautiful fuchsia, vibrant pink, and you just
It just
all
works.
sparkly
Oh,
and
thank
It
you.
works.
pretty,
Thank you
pretty.
so
It's
much.
happy.
I like you guys.
So we
brought
can
us
start
chocolate.
anywhere. I want to hear about your life journey because we've had a lot of personal conversations with it. But I think
Yes.
your story is so impactful, and how you've handled it so gracefully, and you and your children, how you're on the other side of a lot of things now,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
your
very
life
much so.
coaching and the Marconics healing. Where do we start?
Well, I would like to start. I've actually experienced the Marconics. What do you call it? The Marconics.
Recalibration
There we go.
is what you had.
Well,
There
you
we
have
go.
2 versions because I did the light version, the no-touch healing version, and then
Yes.
you have the recalibration, which is more for healers, I understand.
Well, no, not
It can be for
necessarily.
anybody.
Can have a recalibration, but Carrie, if you want to speak to your experience and talk a little bit about that.
Well, I've been really intrigued with the idea of ascension, and so I think maybe we should back up and kind of
Tell
explain
us.
what that is.
It's all about ascension.
Well, I think on different shows we've discussed this. I've actually seen it. It's where we're moving. This new energy that came in 2012, and it's continuing. I mean, we're feeling so much friction on Earth because everybody's being forced to jump off. I mean, if you're on that fence, you have to pick a side, and I think that you're being asked to wake up, to get clean, to kind of step into why you came, or you might be leaving a little earlier than planned, or you stay and things are a little tough, and so that's been that's sort of where I've tried to head, and is to this bigger,
Waking
better
up.
world,
Mhm.
right? And so and I heard this term once. They said that you can ascend, and what that means is you don't have to die and come back and die and come back and die and come back. You can stay as you are and just keep moving up the chain. So
Raising your vibration
Right.
higher and higher. So ascension,
Right.
your
As
soul
you're ascending.
awakening and enlightening. Is that how you understand ascension?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what this recalibration is about. It's about raising your vibration.
yes, and moving from this 3D world, and a big piece of this that we probably should talk about is that we're trying to move in, or the world is moving into this 4D, 5D world. And
Okay, so you got to explain. I understand what that means, but explain. Okay, 3 dimensions. We know
It's hard
the
here,
Three
us.
things. It's a very physical,
Yep.
3-dimensional world.
and that's the world we live in. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's bound by time, and it's bound by
Time and space and distance and yes.
exactly.
The-
So
But so what? How would you describe, or Wendy? How would you describe the 4D? This higher
4D
version of
is
it.
the next, I guess, frequency, and that's where spirit goes. So as you transition, as you pass away, your spirit, it does go on, and it goes into the 4th dimension. And then as frequencies rise, there are different dimensions that correlate with those frequencies. So you can go higher and higher and higher. And there are up to 12 dimensions between where we are in the 3rd and the crystalline grid, which I would consider or explain as the Earth's auric field.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of room for growth.
A lot of room, but you can even go beyond.
And you're saying we can bring that high frequency into this human existence while we're still here alive,
Yes.
walking and talking.
Yes,
We don't have
you
to.
can do that through the recalibration. You can do that through Marconics energy, which is a multi-dimensional energy.
So that's the being in the world but not of it
Right.
kind of concept. So
Yes.
okay, so
Okay,
you-
so I think that this is a great place to explain what it is. Like, what is this energy, and where did it come from?
and what can it do?
So the energy arrived in 2012, and it was available here based on the planetary alignment of the Earth. So it was really because of the Earth's positioning that allowed this energy to be brought in for us. So that is basically where it became. It was channeled down to Allison David Bird, who's the person who has really been the foundation of it and the cornerstone of Marconics energy. And if you want to learn more, you can purchase a book that she has written if you want to learn more about the backstory on it,
Sure.
called Marconics, the Human Upgrade. And it's a really thorough explanation of, how Marconics came to be and the journey that she was on. And she also partners with Lisa Wilson, who's an integral part of the Marconics team. And I just want to put it out there that I'm not a representative of the Marconics institution. I am a level 3 Marconics practitioner, which is the most advanced training and certification level you can get. So I'm going to be speaking as a practitioner and not as
very qualified,
Well,
and
Yeah, I was
thank
gonna
experienced
say,
practitioner.
Thank you. You both had the experience, but I just wanted to make sure people know that I am speaking as a practitioner of the energy and not as a representative of
Absolutely.
their organization. So
Well, we'll put the links to
Yeah.
everything we talk about at joyrideshow.com on the episode blog. Look for Wendy Hutchinson's blog page. And so you don't have to write all this down. We'll put the Marconics Human Upgrade book. We'll put your website, which is the alenialifecoaching.com.
Thank you.
And all the links to everything we're going to talk about today we'll put on our website. So
Yeah.
just you can click on
Great.
there and get that.
I have to say, I'm so excited about this. I mean, you hear about these different energies and these different modalities, and they're hundreds of years old, and so they've just sort of always been there in my world. And to be a part of, I mean, I'm not a part of it, but for it to be in my lifetime just a few years ago, that's exciting. I mean, that's
It's
a pretty
really
cool idea.
exciting.
Yeah.
So how would you
Yeah.
compare this to
Like
Reiki?
Reiki,
Yeah.
for example?
And
Well, there
other
are a
energy
lot
forms.
of great, and I want to honor every person out there who is practicing a healing modality, and that, or a light worker. Every single person has a place, and I honor every single person for where they are and what they're doing for people and humanity, you know. So what I encourage people to do is to pursue things that align with who they are, where they are on their journey, and you know, Marconics is going to resonate with a lot of people, which is wonderful, and I encourage them to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to them about that. But you know, there are people who are doing, like you're doing the EFT, that's beautiful work, or Reiki. So Reiki energy is, I've done both. I was a Reiki 2 certified practitioner of Reiki, and I love that energy. But the Marconics energy is much stronger. And the things I can do with Marconics energy is so different than what was happening in my Reiki practice. So in Marconics, we're able to actually create a sacred space to allow the higher self physically integrate into your body, to physically align through the 8th chakra and
chakra.
the crown chakra, just, you know, above the crown even. I can create this space to allow that higher self energy to come and integrate into you, and that creates an alignment that no other healing modality has.
So do you find a lot of
Yes,
people
it
are out of
does.
alignment, or they're not fully physically in their body, or they're just not
I
integrated?
feel like a lot of people are out of alignment. I think people
And
are
what would that look like?
people who are living unconsciously and not being mindful of how they are treating their bodies, how they're treating their relationships, what their relationship is with themselves. And I really encourage people to take a moment and really examine what your relationship with yourself is. There are people out there who are beautiful souls, and they are givers and caretakers and lovers, and they don't honor the most important person, which is themselves. And so it's really important for people to actually take time and examine that, and to know, I'm worthy.
Yeah.
You are worthy. I see you. And when I see people, I don't see their weight or their car or their bank account or their home. I see the essence of who they are. I see their soul, and that could be the homeless man on the street that I give a water bottle to. It could be a very successful and wealthy individual. I mean, you are not your body. You are not your mind. You are not your bank account. You are not your zip code. You are not the car you're driving. You are spirit, and people do not pay enough attention to that. That is the most important thing. That is where all the energy you are putting outward needs to be. You need to stop putting all this energy outward to prove something, be something, make something, be validated by somebody you don't even care about, and come back in.
I call that the looking for love in all the wrong places.
Exactly.
But it's not
Plugging in out there when nobody
Exactly.
plugs in inside.
okay. But that's that big pushback. I mean, that is not what we're taught. That is not what we're bombarded with
Yes.
on a daily,
Right.
minute by minute basis. We are bombarded,
If you have these jeans and this car and
or
this
these many
lipstick
likes,
and
or
this,
these many people that subscribe to your channel,
then
or this,
you'll
this.
be happy.
Then,
Yeah.
well, no, then we validate you. Then what you're doing is worthy, and what you're doing is profound. But if you only have, 5 likes, then you kind of suck.
Yeah.
So, which obviously is not true, and it is, So I love that message, and I will have to go back and rewind and listen to that 10 times. And it is, because I think that's huge.
It's really powerful. And if people could see the beauty of who they are and embrace that and worked on themselves and raising their vibration and becoming a higher version and better version every day of who they are, you are going to be more impactful and change the world by doing that.
That's exactly
than
right.
holding up a sign, complaining on Facebook about how enraged you are about the latest thing President Trump did, or this, that, or the other issue. You are going to be more impactful and create change on a global level by becoming aligned and stepping into your power.
So your Marconics healing, this is something you in person have somebody in front of you, and they're on a massage table, and you're not touching them and massaging them, but you're working in their energy field to create the space for them to come in and know and love themselves, experience that in fulfillment or that inspiration.
I would say alignment.
Alignment.
It's a raising of the vibration, and it's something we can also do through distance.
Okay,
Oh, you can do it through distance.
Yeah, we can do distance, and I encourage people. So we're not limited geographically.
Perfect.
No
So
time
you
space.
can
So
raise your
somebody
vibration.
living in another country can
Call me. Yes, we could do it remotely.
Well, that was one of the big things. It is so soft. You know, it is not
It's subtle.
something that you go, "Ooh, I am," and I'm sure for some it might, because that was actually my next question, which is if someone came in and they really hadn't done a lot of work on themselves, which would be interesting, because I think that's how I think one stone leads to the next,
Right.
and that's how I found you.
Right.
But so I'm wondering if you kind of came in from ground zero, how does that work? I mean, how
The energy is still going to run sometimes people who aren't kind of where you are, maybe, as far as self-aware or conscious, sometimes they'll just come in and fall asleep. I mean, they're not going to have a visual experience necessarily, or a spiritual awareness of what's happening. So sometimes they will actually go to sleep. But the energy is still running, the experience is still happening, and they get exactly what they need to get. But maybe they won't have the visceral
But
experience.
this allows for physical healing too, doesn't it? When you clean up your energetic vibration,
Yes.
your body responds very
Definitely.
nicely to
when
that.
you come into alignment spiritually, and your vibration is raised, there has been spontaneous healing as a result of Marconics energy, and we really, this is a personal opinion, but I feel like when people are in alignment, that's where healing occurs. So when you're experiencing aches and pains or illness, that's you're not aligned, and a lot of people don't realize that. They want to run to the doctor and get that pill or that spray or that shot or procedure or whatever, and I'm not saying that that's not a good thing, but I think I'd like to encourage people to actually maybe go deeper within and really examine what is going on. Like maybe
absolutely.
that there's an energy to every thought that you have. There is an energetic resonance. There's an energetic echo. When you put things out in the universe, they come back. You put fear out in the universe, that comes back. That energy goes into your body. It has to go somewhere.
Right.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
gets
just
stored.
evaporate. And if we don't deal with the issues, we just bring it all in and pack it
packing
all
it down.
on and packing it
Well,
down.
that sounds like
and it
karma,
really
and we're
does-
going to take a break here in just a second. But
Okay.
when I come back, I'd read about Marconics helping to release karmic debris and negative past time imprints that it can affect this current life. So
Yes.
you may not even be conscious of this karma, but that
Right.
will help that. We'll take a short break and be right back with more Joyride.
Taking down your neighbor won't take you any higher. I burned my own damn finger poking someone else's fire. And I've never gotten taller, made
Hi, welcome back. We are speaking with our friend Wendy Hutchison. She is a writer, a life coach, an energy healer, and we were talking about karmic debris, karmic weight, and how you're really encouraging people to deal with this stuff. And this Marconics energy healing and life coaching is a way to engage it and move through it in a positive way. Can you speak to why is that important?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have a kind of fear frequency that we live in here in the third dimension.
What? We do? Never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about.
I'm afraid to talk about it.
It literally affects every aspect of people's lives, and it holds them down. It holds them
And I
down
feel
like
we're
a weight.
fed it.
We are fed it. How do they sell
Yeah.
you something? How do they sell you life insurance? How do they sell you health insurance?
Everything. Be
Right.
afraid.
And
be
so the
very
density
afraid.
of the planet, you know, that fear frequency, it kind of anchors people, you know, here obviously. But what's happened is with that fear frequency, people have started to create what I would consider kind of negative spin, where they're creating more karma than they're clearing,
Right.
because they kind of can't see the forest through the trees,
Yeah.
so to speak. They're
Yeah.
just really stuck in this lower
very
vibrational
heavy.
space. It's very heavy and it's hard to break out of.
A lot of
So-
anxiety. Your body really responds to
Yeah,
it with
so
a lot of
there's-
fight or flight.
Absolutely. So what's happened, and I kind of explain it like a plane taking off in a thunderstorm. So you're in the dark, it's storming, and it's scary, and the plane is taking off, and then you clear, as you take off, you rise up and you clear the clouds, and you see that it's actually a beautiful sunny day up here.
I love that.
Right, and that's where I want to take you with the Marconics energy. Is we allow you to kind of shed that density, release karmic debris that's been holding you back, and through the recalibration, we actually uncap the chakras and pull out 51% of your karmic debris, and that goes back to the inception of your soul. Goes back
Wow.
to ancient time, all the way back to the beginning of your soul.
And do you
It's
know
really powerful
Across all lifetimes.
across all lifetimes.
that is the magic number that has been so back in 1987 there was the harmonic convergence, and it happened in Hawaii, and they needed 51%. They needed to tip that scale, otherwise we were scrapped. I mean, they're like, dude, too much yang, too much yin. I mean, it's just, this isn't working. And so, and I realize we're getting really far off here, but it is so that when you said that, when you explained that to me, and by the way, I want to go back to that really quickly. I'm interrupting myself. You sent me an email and you said, I met with Tiffany, and I would, I just want to tell you, a little bit about me. And I got halfway through and I called you and I was almost in tears because I had just asked for this. I had just asked for this DNA, this recalibration. I didn't ask for it in those terms, but that's what that was my big search. And I called you and we were just instant. I was like, and I knew this is what I'm supposed to do. And then you met with me just the very next week, and I got to tell you, that was phenomenal. I mean, the things that I've seen, they're so quiet, but they're so big. Just the differences I've seen already, and it's only been a week.
Yeah, you
I
should
mean-
speak to that, tell people what you experienced and what it's been like
So you
for
did the full recalibration
I did the full meal
session.
deal.
Yeah.
There were two of them, and so they were back to back, and I could feel the pressure when you were working on my head, and it got really, really cold in the room, and you were really hot. You said it, so it was that energy. And tell everybody why it was so cold. I love that.
Well, when we work with Marconics energy, we do. Your guides are present, and so are mine, and they are, they're
Assisting.
They're assisting, and they just bring this very cold temperature with them. I can't
Like a
explain.
galactic.
Yeah, it's just the temperature in the room just goes way down,
And it did.
like freezing.
Like, I wanted a blanket. I was about to tuck my arms underneath myself. I thought, no, I don't think I can cross. Yeah, I can cross these lines. But anyway, it was powerful. I felt it in my head. I felt this, and it didn't hurt. It was just pressure, this really strong pressure. And then, I forget, because I was really in this kind of this twilight during that time. but since then, and I think you said that it takes 3 to 4 weeks to really integrate and to really get it in full bloom. And I just know things. I just know things where I would feel an emotion, and I have to go back and write and journal about it and kind of sit with it. I don't have that. I mean, it's like it's there. It's instant. And I also have this desire not to be around lower vibrating. It's not a
judgment.
Judgment. No. It's just it's almost like it feels so new that I don't really want to go there.
Muddy the water, yeah.
Right. And I'm kind of hoping that works itself out, because I would really like to be able to carry the light anywhere. You know, whether it's a bar, a sad place, anywhere. So
Which you will, just by being present, and you can energetically protect yourself so you're not absorbing that, but
Yeah.
you're able to allow love in and out.
Mhm.
If you practice energy protection, you'll be able to go anywhere and share your light and your beauty with anyone, anywhere, really. There's no limitation to that.
Thank you. Yesterday, I was at the grocery store, and I was on my way out, and this woman, she was so sweet. She said, I really want to go sit outside, but I'm afraid. And I said, really, about, your skin? She said, no, I'm afraid somebody will come by my friend. And this is on we're with our buggies walking out to the car. She said, I'm just afraid someone's going to come by and hurt me in my front yard, which was a really interesting thing. And I said, well, why are you allowing that in? You get to create it. You don't have to do that. And she stopped. She looked at me, big tears, and she hugged me. So it's like, I think that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm
Just
talking
knowing
about.
the right thing to say. And
Yeah. But the emotion behind
But
stuff
that's
is
that
just
fear energy that we're like, I can't even safely
Exactly.
be in my front yard
right.
Exactly.
without the
Because
fear
someone
of getting
will-
mugged.
or shoot me or something. It's like,
Yeah.
no. Let's
So people
reprogram
aren't
that.
realizing, what people don't realize is you get to create your life.
The director, the writer, and the star.
Yes, you are the manifester of your life.
Mhm.
And people are so disempowered, and they feel like, oh, life is happening. I can't believe this is happening to me again. I can't believe I'm in this
The victim.
same type of bad relationship or the same horrible job. I've
Wrecked
got the
my
same
car.
terrible job, the same boss. People don't understand that your vibration, okay, that creates your reality.
Yes.
As you raise your vibration, your experiences and the vibration of your life raise with it.
Okay, so stop right there, because I love that, but my brain has to anchor. For someone to say, well, just raise your vibration, I would say, okay, that sounds great.
How?
What the hell does that mean, and how do I do it?
Yeah.
What would the first step be for someone if you met them on the street and they were having a really bad time? What would the first step be?
For someone who's not on a spiritual path, the first step for me would be to be honest with yourself
About?
everything.
That's big.
That's
so break that down
big.
again.
Okay, so let's be honest about why you're telling yourself the story you're telling yourself
Okay.
about, let's just say, your relationship, for example. Why are you telling yourself that you're only worthy of being in an abusive relationship? Why are you believing that story? You're not your mind, you're not your thoughts, that's not the truth. You are worth far more. You are deserving of all the abundance that life has to offer you. Why are you settling? Because you are making a choice.
Mm-hmm. You chose that.
You chose that. You're choosing to stay in that.
A lot of times
that's
it's an
gonna piss
unconscious,
people off.
it's an
That's gonna-
unconscious
Yeah.
choice,
Right.
though.
And people are going to get pissed off and say, "Well, I need the money, and I'll take the beating because I want to keep my family together." And I understand that it's scary
Yeah, it is.
to make change, but I know women who have left and found
Their power.
their power. It was hard. I'm not saying it was easy. It wasn't a walk in the park, but something tipped the scale where they just couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
and they stepped into their power, and now they are doing amazing things.
So tell us about you. Do you think we all have to go through this kind of dark night to get to
The struggle.
I did.
I did
I don't know
too.
about anybody
I think we
else.
all do. I mean,
But
I think that's the
certainly
catalyst
did.
in a lot of
Yeah.
ways
I
to
think
get you.
suffering is the wake-up call. Otherwise, we're just blissfully going along in our unconscious lives, and there's no
Right.
reason to change. Something has to come into your life
kind of bonk you
that's
upside
going
the
to
head.
rock your world and make you think,
And the old ways just
oh
don't.
my gosh,
fix-
this isn't
don't work.
working anymore. And it's a light that's shined on you, and it's like this
Right.
big spotlight. It's like you're in this dark room bumping around and all this furniture, and you think, oh my God, this is awful. And someone turns the light on, you're like, oh my God, I'm in this huge warehouse space. If only you turn the light
We
on,
just
it's
heard that
like,
somewhere.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can actually
Anita
find
Morzani.
Yeah.
I can find my way out.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
of the darkness.
So tell us,
So-
can you tell us a bit about
Your journey,
you and
yeah.
how you got to this
Yeah.
place?
So real quickly, I was born in Hawaii.
Paradise.
Oh,
I was born in Hawaii, born and raised. I was raised in a very kind of Chinese Hawaiian culture. And but in the Chinese aspect of it, I would say that success is really tied to your income and performance and your, you know, your material success. you
The
know,
outward.
more than personal. And also I was raised Catholic, so
that's an interesting triad.
yeah, that's why I was so messed up, you know, back then. But anyway, no offense to anybody out there, but for me, it wasn't a really good fit. Anyway, so I was raised Catholic, and I kind of questioned that faith from a very early age. Like I couldn't figure out why, you know, you just wrote this check to the church and then you kind of like bought your way out of whatever your behavior was, because I'd be seeing a lot of behavior that wasn't very godlike.
Yeah,
Didn't line
not
up.
con-
And
not
then,
congruent.
and then everyone's there on Sunday, like writing a check and being like, oh, hall pass for next
few
week.
Hail Marys,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go, and I remember being taken to the confessional at like 8 years old or 7 years old, and I'd be thinking, I don't, you know, trying to come up with a sin, you know, and I'd be thinking, okay, well, you know, I said a bad word, and I pushed my sister, or, you know, and then you say 3 Hail Marys, and
Let's focus on the negative. Yeah.
you know what I mean? It just didn't resonate with me really,
Right.
and so I went straight to atheist, of course, because I swung all the way over to the
Yeah.
other side. Was atheist for a really long time, and you know, got married, had a family, and I just have this beautiful. I have 2 boys. They're 24 and 22.
And a
And
wonderful
you would
husband.
never know.
And a
I mean,
I
beautiful
know.
You look
husband
like
who's very
you're in your 20s.
supportive of my of my journey. And I actually ended up just having a lot of parenting issues with my older son. He just literally brought me to my knees, like like he was just not compliant, like at all.
You're not playing
As
along.
as a parent, that's like the worst thing ever,
Right.
because you want them to be in that box.
And you said
Right.
you were very type A.
Oh,
very
Were you a
control
tiger
freak.
mom?
I
No, you couldn't have been a
kind of,
tiger
I
mom.
guess. You would probably say yes, she was awful. But but it came from a place of love, you know. I
The
just
intent
wanted
was good.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted him to survive and
That's
thrive.
also what you knew.
Yeah, and that's just the paradigm I had been raised in, you know. And so to give you an example of who he is, when he was 13, and this was a pivotal moment in my journey, we were driving, and we were late for school because he wouldn't get up for school, and then he forgot his backpack, and I drove a carpool, and I was pissed off because we had to cycle back, get the backpack, and he was pissed off and just, you know, yelling over the back seat, you know, in my ear, you're a bitch, blah, 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 blah. And I did one of those horrible parenting moments, like something I'm totally not proud of, but like that whole, like, back slap across the back seat, like, sit down, shh, put your seatbelt on, you know, because I was just done.
Well,
And I wasn't a person that typically hit my kids necessarily, ever, really. But I was just so pissed off that I did. And we were both kind of stunned, and I'm driving down the street, and he just kind of paused and looked at me with this shock on his face. And he slid across the back seat, this backpack, opened the back door. I'm driving, mind you.
He got out
And he did a front somersault flip out
of a rolling car.
of the moving car, landed on his feet, and ran off. and was gone the whole day. Like, he just cut school. I had no idea where he went. I just kind of slowed down, like jammed my brakes to shut the door because I had carpool to drive. I'm like, I'll deal with that later, you know. Went off and drove and picked up the carpool kids. And that was kind of the beginning. So, I mean, he's 13 at that time. And that was just the beginning of our ride. So a lot of conflict, a lot of tension,
Power struggle.
a lot of me wanting to control, and the more I wanted to control, the more I was getting pushed back, and it was just escalating. So fast forward 4 years, and he's 17, and we're just having this knock-down, drag-out domestic, you know, situation after school, and I was like, I'm taking your car, and we're like fighting over his keys, and I grabbed his keys, and he's, you know, swearing and calling me all kinds of, you know, really nice things, and I'm just like, don't even touch me. Do not touch me. You touch me, I'm calling the police. And I went upstairs because, you know, tensions had just been escalating so much. So I got on the phone upstairs, and I looked down the hall, and he's running with this huge kitchen like knife. He's just running at me, just like he just snapped, you know.
Wow.
And that's not who he is.
Yeah,
it's just that we both had
It's like when you backhanded him. Saying,
it was just
stop. Yeah.
we had just got tangled in this
Fear
this
cycle.
terrible cycle of anger. You know, we couldn't break it.
You couldn't figure out how to get out.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, you know. And he takes my phone out of my hand, throws it out the window, and grabs me by the neck and holds a knife to my throat and says, if you don't give me my, you know, effing car back, I'm gonna kill you. And I'm like, you're not gonna freaking kill me, you know. We start fighting, and
Wow.
he was a wrestler. He's super strong. So we're just like wrestling, and he's pinning me down. I'm getting out, and he's pinning me down. I'm getting out. You know, we're just back and forth for like 25 minutes. This is a really long time.
Yeah.
And he had stabbed the knife into the door, and we were just like, it was like all these years of tension.
Yeah.
And nobody home to like break that up.
Right.
Like, my husband was at work, and I thought, well, it could just die right here, and nobody's even gonna know. You know, there's nobody here. So eventually, you know, over time, we both kind of calmed down and kind of came to our senses. And he's like, Mom, if I let you go, you're not going to call the police, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to call the police. Just let me go. You know, just let me go. So he finally let me go, and I just ran. I didn't have shoes on. I just ran. I got my keys. I grabbed my purse. I just ran out the front door. I got in my car, drove to a friend's, called the police, and said my son, you know, just assaulted me. And I had lost control of him, you know, and I really thought maybe the law needs to intervene and show him that it's not okay to be this disrespectful or to try to harm your mother, you know. And this was a Friday afternoon, and I thought, well, you know, they'll arrest him, and then I'll get him out. I'll get him out Monday. Yeah. He'll have this little aha moment, and he'll be in juvie for 3 days. Pfft, no big deal, right? Well, because a weapon was involved, they put him in maximum security in solitary confinement.
Oh, wow.
For 21 days.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't get him out. And
he was in solitary for 21 days?
He was in solitary, his own cell for
3 weeks,
Yeah. I mean, he could come out with all the gangbangers, and they'd have, you know,
might have been safe.
They'd have gang talks about, you know, how gangs are bad, and, you know, I don't know how we are on time. But anyway, so, yeah.
Okay, so what happened after 21 days?
We were able to get him out. The judge finally released him, and he was on probation for a year. And then he was able to go. He spent his whole senior year on probation.
But how was the relationship with you guys after that?
Awful.
Awful.
Of course.
Terrible.
Because everybody feels betrayed.
Yes. My husband was angry at me. His brother was angry. It was 3 against 1.
So you're living this train wreck.
Just like the dark night of the soul.
The bottom of the barrel.
That set me on my path, on my spiritual path.
So you started looking for other ways to handle this from that dark night?
Yeah,
there.
and that was the real pivotal moment for me.
We're going to hear more of your story and see where you took this.
You know what? I want to thank you for sharing this, because I know
Yeah.
that can't be easy.
Yeah. And your son, thank you
Yeah.
Yeah.
for letting us share it. We'll
Yeah.
be right back with more Joyride.
There's no time to kill between the cradle and the grave. Father time still takes a toll on every minute that you save. Legal tender's never gonna change the number on your days. The highest cost of living's dying.
Okay, so we are back with our friend Wendy, and we were just talking about her dark night, her really dark night of the soul,
The struggle.
and the struggle. And I asked her during the break. You know, we always say, and we always say it to people that, I don't know, that we don't know well. Okay, how did you bring this on, and do you think this was part of your soul contract? And I want to ask you that. Do you think that you guys can? Do you now have enough distance from this that you can see how this has played such a pivotal role in your lives, both of your lives?
Absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, this event, and not only our lives, but my husband's life, I mean, our whole family was impacted by this. But this was a soul contract, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to happen, because if that had not happened, I would not have gone on the journey back to myself. I would have not gone on a spiritual path. I owe it to my son. And a lot of people just sat in judgment of me as a parent, of him and his actions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just an incident in time. That wasn't who we are.
Right.
You know, that was something that just escalated and got out of control. And I just want to honor him so much. I love him so much, in allowing me to tell this story,
Yeah, we thank him.
because he is not that person. He's just the most beautiful soul. He's just the most beautiful human being, and I love him
And
so
a very
much.
strong soul. Both of you are very strong.
Well, that was part of the issue,
Right,
right.
We both wanted to win, and
Yes.
we just weren't in the space. And now we are in a space of so much love, and you know, going through that, you learn what unconditional love is. It is loving people through adversity. It was loving my husband and my children through the years where they maybe didn't love me, you know.
Well, they don't understand, and I think that being a mother, there are things that I know that have happened in my house where if I say it out loud, I feel like I don't want you to judge my child that way, because that's not who he is. And
Mhm.
and it's not that it's embarrassing, it's that it's, fuck, how did we get there? You know, how did this little 8-year-old decide to pull a knife? I mean, it's the same
Exactly.
thing, and it just is, you know, and we all have those moments.
Well, there's
and
so
we love
much
'em
judgment,
anyway.
and I think it's other parents thinking, "Oh God, thank God my
That's
kid
not my
isn't."
kid.
Yeah, oh, I would never have let my kid call me a bitch, you know. Or it's like, you know what? It's so easy for you to sit over there on your couch with your glass of wine and judge me, instead of taking care and looking at your own shit.
Do you know that happened? This neighbor who has 4 kids, who is their family. I mean, all their kids are just amazing. But when I was when I had these little boys and they were getting out of control, I remember calling her. Husband was traveling. I called her and I was like, "Have you ever needing the
Support.
guidance from the older mother?" And she's like, "Oh, honey, my kids have never done anything like that." And I was
Right.
like, "Well, fuck you very much." I mean, it really.
Exactly.
It just because then I went down the road of, oh my God, am I a horrible mother? Are my kids like heathens? Are they going to end up in juvie?
Yeah,
You
and you go
worry.
down this rabbit hole of, and when my kid was in juvie, then you go down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, what if he has a record, can't go to college, can't get a job, lives
Yeah.
at home forever? Oh my God, you know, you start
Living
to
under
go
a
down
bridge
this
forever.
like rabbit hole, like, you know, how is he going to live this successful,
life, yeah.
productive life? And so I fought for him. I fought to get him out. I fought to get him help. I fought for our family. You know, we went into counseling, and that was another pivotal moment, was you know, we were in family counseling, and the therapist looks at my husband and I, and she's like, I actually need to talk to you both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Yeah.
Us?
You know, he's the one that needs to change. She's like,
Yeah.
we need to talk. It's
Top
kind
down.
you know, it goes from the top down. And I remember in one of the therapy sessions, and so this is how type A I am. I show up for my therapy session and I have all my notes and my bullet points, and I just hand her this document like, you know, we're just going to take care of business. You're just going to read through this. We don't need to, let's cut through the shit. We don't need 5 sessions to hash all this bullshit out. Just read this document. Tells
And
you
this
the
is
whole
court mandated at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We're going to circumvent the whole
We're
thing.
just going to expedite this whole thing. Give me some tools, and off I go. 3 years later, you know, I'm still in therapy with her.
She's on our speed dial.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But she had, she
So
probably
this might
was like,
be part
oh.
of the problem.
She goes, I know what I'm dealing with now. It's type A mom. But she asked me this question. It was super powerful. And it was like, well, what do you want? And I had been a mom that had always put myself last. I didn't value who I was. I didn't think I mattered. I didn't think my opinion mattered for anything. And I always deferred to what everyone else wanted. And I took care of everyone else. And she said that. And I like didn't even, like no one had ever asked me in my life, what do you want?
So you never even knew how to answer
I didn't have an answer. I didn't even know who I was.
that.
I had lost myself in the process of raising my family and trying to be everything for everybody and trying to keep this picture of, you know, that I have my shit together for everyone to see, so that people wouldn't see that maybe I didn't have my shit together. I didn't want to be vulnerable or judged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my biggest lesson really was to step into my power.
So what were I know you said you've done counseling. What were the healing
So I did some
steps that you
counseling.
stepped into?
Then I started kind of deciding I needed to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you get back to your authentic self? And that's what my coaching is about, is I help you figure that out. And how I did that was just by starting to do things that brought me joy. That's how you find out
What were
who
some
you
of those
are.
things?
That would be walking the lake with friends, working out, painting. I love art, reading. It was giving myself permission and time to do things that brought me joy.
It's so important, because then you have all your eggs in the kids' basket, and when they're not cooperating, and
You
it's
need
such a
something
part,
for yourself.
Yes, it
you
needs
know,
to
You need to be a rock.
diffuse that
yeah.
energy a little bit, so it's not
And
so
people don't honor
kid-focused.
that, especially moms, because we're driving carpool. We're at the grocery store. We're like frantically trying to like do laundry, get people where they need to be, drive carpool, cook, work. I worked, you know,
Yeah.
the whole time, not full time, but around their schedules. So you're trying to do 2 full-time jobs in a half-time hours. And I just want to shout out to all the moms out there who are doing an amazing job, and single moms in especially. I just honor you. I honor your journey.
Absolutely.
And nobody does it perfectly. We
There
all have
doesn't
those
exist.
days where
No.
we're like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, did you really just pee in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, my kids constantly will ante up, and it's like, really? Did
Yeah.
you say
We're
that?
going there now.
Yeah.
Oh my good. You know,
Yeah.
but it's you're right. It's about being authentic.
It's about being authentic.
and letting them be authentic.
And it took me so long because I wanted approval.
yeah.
I
From
was
who?
from my parents, from my family, from my peers, from other. You want people to acknowledge you and say, "Hey, great job."
She's a badass.
And guess what? I got nothing, like silence. You know?
Well, they're only going to point
So
out
you
what you're
keep-
doing wrong.
Right. So you keep fighting harder and fighting harder. Then you realize the shit you're fighting for, you don't even care about.
Yeah. There's a book.
I don't even want to be that, anyways.
I just got
you
this
know?
book, and it's called How to Not Give a Fuck. And it is on New York Times bestseller. And it's not that you're totally cut off from everybody. It's where you give a fuck. You know,
Right.
it's where you decide to place that. And you do it, and you're going to make some people mad, and you're going to make some people cheer, but at the end of the day, it's what makes you happy and where do you want to put it.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
So-
I'm only on page 5.
So basically,
Yeah,
and you're already sold. So
Yeah.
basically, coming back to the authentic self is just bringing little pieces of yourself back.
And so that's
And
when you life
honoring-
coach, that's how you help people see their lives in a different way and
yes,
redirect.
and it's so interesting because in life coaching, people always come and go, well, I have this issue, and I just don't really like my job. But I'm very intuitive, so it's like, yeah, that's
not the issue.
not really the issue.
But that got you here, so
right,
I'm into
right.
that.
So whatever the issue is that comes up, that's not really the issue.
You gotta
There's
dig a little.
something a lot
Yeah.
deeper, and it's usually at a soul level of not being or feeling like you're enough.
Yes.
Always. That's
the
it.
core.
That's how they sell
Not
us
being
stuff.
worthy.
That's the core.
So how did you find Marconics?
How did I find Marconics? So I was I'm part of a development circle of beautiful, gifted women. I just want to give them a shout out because they've been such an integral part of my journey. And one of the women was exposed to Marconics and talked to all of us. A lot of us are healers. All of us are spiritual. And said, hey, we should read this book and see if this resonates with us. Because we are really about helping humanity, helping others, as a collective and individually. And so we read the book, and it was really powerful. I downloaded my book on my Kindle, and this is I can't explain why this happened, but this is such strong energy. I actually started to read my Kindle, and I could feel like this energy coming off of my Kindle, which was really weird. But once I got into Marconics energy and went through the training, it makes total
Totally get it,
sense,
yeah.
you know? But the thing about Marconics is it just helps you to rise up. In the no touch, it will wear off when we disconnect over time, like over a couple of weeks. But it just helps you to rise up and kind of look around and go, hey, everything's going to be okay.
So that was a session
got
I did
this.
with you.
Yes.
And
Sort of like
it was very
healing.
relaxing. You have a beautiful space and laying on the massage table, and you come in, and again, I got very cold.
You
and
got
the room
cold too?
temperature, I didn't feel like there any air blowing, or I didn't feel air coming into the
No,
room.
it's just the guides that are
I got
around you.
cold. And you came in very soft, and I could feel you in my energy, especially all around my head. I could just feel it just kind of buzzing. And then at one point I was really in that la la land space, that kind of zone, twilight zone. And you said you were pushing the energy
the
into me, into
shoulders?
my shoulders. And I just was like, whoosh, it totally like I saw purple and gold, and it was really cool. It was very subtle. I mean, other than that little part, it was very subtle, very relaxing. I just totally felt safe and secure.
Yeah.
And
Every
I do. It just
experience
felt
is so
good.
different, for everybody, but you get exactly what you need. And it's just a beautiful energy to work with. It's such an honor to work with this energy, and I'm so honored when anyone gets on my table.
Well, thank you for accepting your gift.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you so
Bringing
much.
that energy
Bring
in.
it
We'll
to
learn a
us.
lot more about it. We're going to put all the links to everything we're talking about on our website. But I do want to follow back up and say, how is your son now? How are you and your son?
Gosh.
Fast
We
forward
have
10 years
such
now.
a beautiful relationship now, but it was such a journey of the soul, me stepping back and not trying to control him.
Okay, that was probably a huge part of it.
And that
Take
is
the struggle out of it.
tough as a mama.
Yeah,
You want that outcome.
you got to let him.
You want them to shine,
Mm-hmm.
but you just have to disengage and step back and just let them fly
Yeah,
and fall and fly and fall and
yeah,
and love them through it.
yes.
No matter what. And I've told him, and I've told my other son too, who's a musician, I love you for who you are. I don't care about anything else. I see you and I love you. I don't need you to hit an income mark or be something or achieve something, because I see you and you guys are both beautiful.
Oh,
You
what a
know.
nice
What a
place
gift.
to be in.
Yeah. Because I think it's so important for our children to know that we see them
Yeah.
and
For
we
who
love
they
them
are.
for who they are.
My son asked me, my 8-year-old said, "Hey, Mom, I think I might be gay." I said, "Okay." okay. And he said, are you okay with that? I said, well, I don't love you because you're not gay, and I would not love you because you're gay. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. I said, it just, anyway, he basically at the end said, that was a great answer, Mom. I'm like a little tester. No, but that's what I got. It's like, I can't love you more and I can't love you less. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is.
But I think a lot of parents are trying to hit the mark with their kids. They want their kids to be successful because that's a reflection on them.
But that's so I did just have a few things that came down the pike with my oldest son that are quote unquote successes, and he signed up himself and he won this award and he's this next year and that next year, and it's cool. It is really cool, and I'm so proud of him, but I'm not any more proud of him. I don't know if that's the right way to say that.
That makes sense.
It's his thing. I mean, it's the fact that he did it makes me proud, that he joined, because I'm typically not a joiner, and so I'm just amazed by him. But it's his success. It's not my success.
Right.
I've learned, don't take too much responsibility for their failures or take too much credit for their success.
Exactly,
Just
and that's really well
disengage
said.
a little bit.
But I want to encourage parents out there. When your kids are down, don't kick them.
Yeah.
Don't kick them when they're down because they're not performing or they're struggling. That's when they need you the most. That's when you show up. With unconditional love. That's higher vibration. That's love over fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
My husband gave me the best advice. I tend to say if they bring home bad grades, what happened? I can't believe. And he says, no. This is just a sign that there's more to work on. This just shows us where we need to work. And it's like, oh, I love that. I think that's great. Okay. You mentioned something, and I think you should write a book on this, and you said, put that bitch back in a box.
That's my quote.
Did you hear her say that? Have you heard that?
So
I love
what that's about for me, what was very empowering for me is self-awareness around the negative self-talk.
Yes.
Okay, we are all telling ourselves a story, and the mistake we're making is believing it.
Right.
But we're not our thoughts.
No.
Those are separate from us. That's our ego trying to keep us in a box, keep us safe, keep us from taking risks, keep us from coming on radio shows and telling our spiritual truth because they're like, oh, you're going to get some pushback from that, maybe from your parents. I don't know. But so what I decided was I was just going to put that bitch in a box.
I love
Every time she stood up and said, you can't write for a magazine. I'm like, hell yeah, I can. Put her in the box.
Get that back in the box.
She's in timeout,
She's in
And I just, and eventually, the more I did that, the less she was able to come out and influence me. And now I am so fully empowered. I have trained myself to be for me. My thoughts are for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let that bitch who really doesn't even know what she's talking about, because hell yes, I can do all this and be this, that, and the other and change the world and, empower people. What does she know? She goes right in that box. I lock her up. She tries to come out sometimes.
She rattles the cage.
Yeah, she rattles the cage and tries to whisper something. I'm like, oh no.
No, I'm not falling for
I
that
see you.
one.
I see you.
So I encourage everyone, put that bitch in the box.
Well, and the
that.
fact that
I
you've
love that.
taken your story, your journey, not only transformed it yourself and the relationships with your family, but that you're teaching others now how to do that through life coaching, through getting into alignment with this energy.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. That's
Thank
making the
you.
lemonade, out of the lemons. That's really
Yeah.
turning.
It
That's
makes
the
it
miracle.
It makes it worth it. It makes what you both went through
worth it. Yeah.
worth it. And
to be able to share it.
And I think that I love the way you approach this. It's not, okay, I mean, someone can come and just do healing, quote unquote, but then you also give them the additional tools. Saying, okay,
advice.
we can also meet on an intellectual level.
On a
and I can
practical
help.
day-to-day.
And these
Exactly.
are some things.
level.
These are some actions you could take from this aligned space. Here's
Yes.
how does
You're
it's
the full meal
completely-
deal.
Well,
Yeah.
and I love your alinea in French means a new line. And I often, when I'm telling people, if you keep walking the path that you're going, you're going to get that result. If you just shift 2 degrees this way or this way, it doesn't have to be this major life shift, but just shift a little bit. You walk that line, pretty soon that line goes far out, and it's a
Way over there.
it's a different trajectory.
Your trajectory
completely.
changes completely. That's exactly
So
why I
love
picked that
that Alinea life
name,
coaching.
because what I do through coaching is just get you to see who you are. Let's get you in alignment with your truth and just shift your perspective 2 degrees. The whole
It's a huge
trajectory of
shift.
your life can change.
Yes.
You
That's
know,
huge.
when you're not a victim, when you're empowered, when you're in a career that you love or a relationship that is in alignment. It's huge.
It's massive. And
yeah.
I would love for you to come back on too. I can't wait for the end of the month and to see how else this all unfolds. And I have so much more I want to talk to you about on air. So
Keep putting that bit back in the box.
put that bitch back in the box. Sit
Okay,
down.
so alinealifecoaching.com. Look for Wendy Hutchinson's blog on Joyride Show on the episode blog. And thank you so much.
Thank you for
This
having
was
me.
so
it was
much
such
fun.
an honor.
Loved
It
it.
was.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Roses too, I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful